Praise the name of Yehovah, the great, mighty King and Creator of the universe. Nathan Lawrence here. Once again, Hoshana Rabbah, and coming to you on another Shabbat with our live Zoom group. So you'll see me looking down at the my other monitor here, looking at the folks from time to time here on our Zoom Shabbat Zoom meeting. And I will say that if there's some of you watching on this YouTube channel, watching this message, and you would like to join our nearly every week Shabbat meeting that's live on Zoom, send me an email. And all that I ask is that you tell me your name, first and last name, where you're coming from. That is where you what country or state. I don't need to know the town. And then a little bit about your testimony, how you came to faith in Yeshua the Messiah, and your salvation testimony, and how you came into the Hebrew roots of the Christian faith. And we would be happy then to add you to the list if you can give me that information and it rings authentic and true, and you love Yeshua and love his Torah, then we will be happy to add you to the mailing list or the email list so you get the link each week and you can participate in the weekly gathering online. I'm going to give this quick little talk, and then we'll go into the main teaching that I want to talk about, which will be on Psalm 91. But last night, my wife and I had our Erev Shabbat dinner, and I wasn't ready to go to bed yet. I'm too tired to do much of anything, but I wasn't quite ready to go to bed. So I came back out to my office and I went on YouTube, and I have been following, I guess it's been about 3 weeks now, the fires that took place in Lahaina, Maui, the island of Maui in Hawaii. A few years ago, my wife and I were in Maui. We spent a week there. We were actually stayed on the beach in Maui, in a hotel there. And of particular interest to me, because I'm an arborist, was the banyan tree. And so that morning, when the fires were happening, or the next day when we were getting the news reports, I was looking for video footage about the banyan tree, because I made a video on the banyan tree. And I won't talk about that. The banyan tree was it's the largest banyan tree in North America. It's like 150 years old. And it takes up a square city block, or maybe a block and a half. It's a large area. And the tree was severely injured, but it looks like it's under really good care right now by one of Hawaii's top consulting arborists, which when I saw what happened to the tree, I love trees. And trees are figured very prominently in the Bible. I'll just say that. One of these days I'll do a teaching on that. But one of the very first things that's mentioned in the book of Genesis is about the tree of life. And of course the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So trees go way back in the Bible, and they're very important. And Yeshua is called a tree of life. And we are like branches. He said, I am the vine and you are the branches. So we could, as an arborist, as a professional expert arborist for the last 50 years, I've been pruning trees for money. I've been pruning trees for about 55 years, but for money for 50 years this year, since I was 13. So my life has been really wrapped up with trees. There's two things that I'm an expert on: the Bible and trees. I've dedicated my life to those things. So last night I'm watching, and I've been following a particular person who lives in a Lahaina area, Kanapali, which is actually where we stayed. That's just a little bit just outside of Maui, Kanapali. Maybe some of you have been there. They've got some really nice hotels and resorts. It's an amazingly beautiful place. But there's a place called the Maui, there's a website or a YouTube his name is Eric, and he's called the Maui Realtor. And he's been giving live updates about what's going on in Maui. And you can go online, and he's a Christian, and he's a realtor. His house was not burned down. But yesterday, he was interviewing somebody. I saw this man in one of the videos. Maybe you've seen him. He's an older man. He's got white hair. He's missing a few front teeth. And he wears a straw hat. It's not straw. It's made out of palm branches or leaves or something. I think it's made out of palm. Palm trees have these fronds that come out. And so he takes those fronds and he's woven himself a hat. And have you seen the guy with the hat, but there's no top on it? Have you seen that? It's a broad-brimmed hat to keep the sun out of his eyes, and it comes up about halfway on his head, but his white hair is sticking out of the top of his hat. Has anybody seen that particular video? Well, I've seen him interviewed. I've seen him, man on the street interview. Well, Eric the Realtor interviewed this man last night, and I watched the video. And Eric called this individual, he said he's a believer, a Bible believer, a man of God, and like a sage. Well, I didn't know what to make of that. The man, he's a Caucasian, he's Anglo, and he's not native to Maui. He actually came from Portland, Oregon, which is my area. And he's lived there, and he lives in a tent. He's a minimalist. He has very few possessions. But evidently, he has been on a street corner in downtown Maui on Front Street, right along the ocean, which is where the banyan tree was. I've walked that street. I've been on that street. He has a corner. And he's a weaver. And evidently, I'm gathering that he takes these palm fronds, like he made this hat, and he weaves little fish out of these palm fronds, and he gives them to people, and that's part of his ministry, and he preaches the gospel to people. A very simple situation. He's been there, he's a fixture, he's well known, and people call him Fish. Because he passes out these fish that he weaves out of palm leaves. And that's the name he goes by. And he lives in a tent. And he was talking about the day that the fires were burning, and he went to the Safeway store to get some food. And he was heading back out of Maui. He was on Front Street, and the flames were behind him, and he was heading back to his little tent on the beach or wherever the tent is that he lives in. You can live in a tent all year long in Maui, and it's not real cold there. We were there in January, and it was still in the 70s. I was swimming in the ocean, so it never gets really cold there, at least in that area. And so he was heading back, and he was describing his harrowing experiences of trying to get out of there, and escape with his life, and his encounters with the police that were not letting them through the barricades. And that's a whole other issue. But this is the point I want to focus on. As he was talking, he referred to the God of the Bible as Yehovah. That's how you would say, or Yehovah, or something like that. He said it, I heard him say it twice. That's how you would say Yehovah if you pronounce the Vav as a W, which many people do. You can. I don't think it's the most accurate way based on understanding, but the Vav can be pronounced as a W. It's like a dialect, or like tomato or tomato, kind of a thing. And then twice he referred to, he didn't say Jesus, he said Yeshua. As he's being interviewed by Eric the Realtor. And he was talking a little bit about his faith and, so forth. I don't know anything about fish, but anybody that's using the Hebrew names, they're on a path, they're on a journey. He may be messianic, he may be Torah observant to one degree or another. He may be just a Christian that's discovered the Hebrew names, but people that use the Hebrew names, they're on a trajectory. They're moving toward truth. They've moved out of the paradigm of the mainstream Christianity, and they are moving in a direction, Hebraically. To me, that's exciting. They may not be where I'm at, or they might be way ahead of me. I don't know. That's all I know. But the point is this. Yehovah has his people in many different places. And this is the one thing I've been praying for Maui and for Lahaina, is that Yah would put his people in the middle of these situations. It may be an old man who's 80 years old. Sorry, Mark. People, I'm 63, and there's people, my kids think I'm old, so it's all relative. But anyway, or also Janelle and Kennedy, who are, I guess Kennedy, you're in your early 90s, so Mark, you're young compared to them, and people, I'm old compared to some people, so it's all relative. But he's an older gentleman, and he's missing a few front teeth. He's got white hair, and he's wearing a nice Hawaiian shirt, and he lives in a tent. Yah can raise up anybody and put his people in places. And even in the midst of, it looks like Dresden that was firebombed in World War II, leveled. You've all seen the pictures of Lahaina. I don't know what to make of it. It's crazy. It looks like a war zone. And there you have somebody that was preserved and is now, is like, he referred to himself as a watchman on the wall, like Ezekiel. Well, he didn't say Ezekiel, but he was using that terminology. Like, I'm just, I'm here to help people and to try to warn people. And he was a very humble man. In fact, at one point in time, he broke down, and a very tender-hearted individual. So you never know where you might be, and Yah might use you. He might use me for such a time as this, in a place where we can be salt and light and bring hope and joy and point people to Yeshua. I will also say one other thing. Maybe some of you have seen the Catholic Church that is still standing. It was built like in 1843. There in the middle of Lahaina. You can see the steeple. I've seen pictures of it. I've seen video of it a few days after the fire. The grass is still green. The palm trees in front of the Catholic Church are still green. And across the street, the buildings are flat, and I saw them still smoking, the rubble. Any of you seen that video? Okay, I understand. The fires burn and the winds shift. They're coming down off of the mountains that rise up. They're not mountains, they're really hills. You got the Lahaina bypass. They were just building that when I was there, and now it's a bypass. It bypasses Front Street. And above that, you have all the hills that used to be sugar plantations and so forth, and then they were let go, and now they've become grass, and they're a fire hazard. That's a whole other discussion. And so those fires swept down the hill. The wind was blowing and engulfed much of Lahaina. But it must have come up to that Catholic Church, and the winds blew the flames away. Shame on anybody. Shame on anybody that has Elohim, I'm just going to say it, has Elohim in such a small box, their own personal, private, God and me only exclusivistic box. I used to be one of those people for the first 30 years of my life, and y'all had to smack me up against the head and say, dude, you're not the only one. You and your Pharisee little cult group of people are not the only one I'm working with on planet Earth. I'm not limited to your church, your denomination, your little box that you're trying to cram me into. Yeah, the Catholic Church is an evil organization, like many of the other churches, but there are still decent people in there that are doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have, and at the same time, the Catholic Church has maybe done more to feed the hungry, to help the orphans, to start schools more than any other organization. I've been in Rome. I was in Rome 4 months ago. I've been in Cartagena, Colombia, in northern South America, and I've been in the Museum of the Inquisition, where I saw the thumb screws and the other things that they used to extort money and to steal the land from the crypto Jews and from anybody else that didn't go along with the Catholic Church. I've been in the majority of the large cathedrals in Europe. I've been in there. Some of them a few times. From Italy to France to Spain to England to Belgium, the Netherlands and a few other places. I've driven by them. I've been in them. Switzerland. Haven't been in Germany. I've been there, but I haven't been in the cathedrals. But I know what it took to build those cathedrals. They extorted money through indulgences. I get all of that. They burned people at the cross because they were trying to translate the Bible. I get all that. I look at all the wealth in Rome. You walk in St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican Museum. I've been there. I've walked through that. It's mind-boggling. The obscene wealth, the raping, the pillaging, the stealing. But there's a dark underbelly. But at the same time, Yah is using people. He's got people in a lot of different places that he's using, irrespective of the organization and the system. I don't like religiosity and situations and all that, but individual people. And that church is remaining in Lahaina. You could say it's just a fluke of nature, or you could say maybe Yah is trying to get a point across. And yes, that church has a steeple, and the steeple goes back to the phallic symbol. I get all of that. But moving past all of that, Yah can use Balaam's donkey. He can use the stones and the rocks. He can use anything. His harm is not shortened. He's not limited to your or my little puny monkey brains, our little puny perspectives. He's so much bigger than that. He can show up in the middle of a witch's coven or a satanic black mass, or in the middle of in the middle of Mecca or wherever, and speak to people and deal with people, just like he did with you and me. We were all at some point in place in our lives. So anyway, I'm excited in a couple little areas to see. Here being several thousand miles away from Hawaii, here on the west coast of the U.S., I'm probably closer than any of you, because I'm right on the coast or just inland. But Jesse, you're about as close as I am. The rest of you a little bit further away. But anyway, I'm excited to see a couple shining lights in Lahaina town. And he could use anyone or anything or any one of us if we ever found ourselves in a similar situation. And if he could use us there and then, how is he using us now? You see, Fish was being faithful for many years, sharing his faith there in downtown Lahaina. And now, he is a bright light shining. He was just probably somebody that they walked by and just ignored. And he touched a few lives here and there. And now Now he is a celebrity. Now he is well known. Yah has raised him up. A man that probably doesn't even have a computer or a cell phone. And he's given him a world stage. This humble little man that when he was talking, he kept his head bowed. You hardly saw his eyes. And a few times he had to, at the end he had his he couldn't even talk. He was just, his eyes were full of tears for the loss of life and for everything. A humble man. And now Yah is raising up people like this to confound the wise and to call people whatever. I don't know how he's going to use this man. But anyway, I'm almost, it touches my heart so deeply, I'm almost on the verge of tears. I think about the tree that I love so much, that tree. And I think about this man that Yah is raising up, and probably others too that will come out of the ashes like the phoenix bird, out of the ashes, to bring hope and joy to those who need it the most. Amen. That's the end of my little talk. All right, shalom.